it's been a while. Welcome back to the Lumbermill Devlog's 50th video. Last time I was working on bringing the factory systems up to date with 6 new machines. This time around I've finally implemented Steam Power, revived a feature I added long ago when this was just a hobby project, and a range of other improvements and changes. For those new here or just need a reminder, Lumbermill is a factory builder and management game that I'm building solo in Unity 2D. Up until now, storage buildings displayed their inventories in a pop-up window, originally added a few years ago and never updated since. The game style has evolved a lot since then, and I decided that inventories should be more easily accessible. Pop-ups like this just don't really work with the aesthetic anymore, so as has been a theme recently, inventories are now part of the control panel, a context-sensitive panel displayed in the corner of the screen for most buildings in the forest. With the layout done, I created a script to manage that component before turning it into a prefab which I can use whenever I need to display an inventory. Adding that to the actual control panel for the storage buildings was as simple as adding a single line of code. With that all set up, you can now view the inventory of a storage building with stacks of identical items being counted. Obviously, as there's no art for items yet, all you can see here is the white placeholder diamond representing both maple and pine log stacks. In the case where the inventory is empty, I needed to display that too, so I added a text field with my localizer system attached before adding the text I want to display to the game's master text file. That brings us to my plans for the coming months. This is the new simplified Trello, which should get the game to its first alpha version. It feels like all the management game systems are finally coming together, and I'm pretty excited for how the game will play when this board is done. With that plan in place, I got to work. Letters were a part of the game very briefly a while ago, but I never used them as they didn't really offer anything in terms of gameplay. I like the concept though, as it would bring some personality to the game, and always found receiving letters in Theme Hospital a great feature. The main thing there though was the ability to respond, with the player often being faced with interesting choices. I wanted to adapt that for Lumbermill, so got to work by creating a new canvas for letters to be displayed. I then created a new script for generating those letters and laid out the UI for letters and responses. I designed the layout with varied screen resolutions in mind, with everything resizing to keep its formatting and allowing the player to scroll text that doesn't fit onto a single page. The only problem though was that mouse events weren't being triggered at all for the buttons, meaning players wouldn't be able to click the buttons. That was down to the pixel art shadow overlay blocking all the raycasts from the mouse, so I disabled that before getting to work on the format for writing letters themselves. There were a couple of things that needed to be possible with the letters. Firstly, they needed to support my localization system for translations, and the different response options had to be built into the text files, also supporting localization. This was the format I arrived at, which the game can extract the text from and add it to the letter UI. I've written up a technical blog post about how the letters work in full, which I've linked in the description. The final thing to do was add that test letter file to the game, and add some open and close transitions. This was the final result. When you open a letter from a notification, it pops up onto the screen and fades out when closed. There was once an animation of an envelope opening, but decided it was just cleaner to do it this way instead. To add some finishing touches, notifications for letters needed a custom icon, so I jumped over to Sprite to draw that. The final system looked like this. You'll receive notifications for letters sent to you, and you'll also be able to respond in various ways to many of them. Hopefully this will add some variety to the game's decision making and add a bit of personality to the people and organisations you'll be interacting with. Among the many reasons this devlog took a while was that I spent a lot of August away from the UK. I ran away to the Greek island of Rhodes to finally relax a bit. Sadly, the Colossus was destroyed over 2,000 years ago, but still managed to explore plenty of awesome places and actually remember what the sun feels like. These things come to an end though, and I returned to work on Steam Power. The first new addition is a pump machine. These go on the coast of the island to draw water from the sea, desalinate it, and send it to the boiler. I created some placeholder art and got the game to only allow pumps to be built on coastal water tiles. When I tested connecting it to water pipes though, I found they wouldn't connect. It turned out that the underground part of the pump didn't have its dimensions defined, meaning it wasn't actually taking up any space and so couldn't connect to anything. So with that sorted, pipes then connected to the pump machine. Next up was the boiler. This takes water and converts it to steam. I thought it might be interesting if the boiler became less efficient as its health decreased, so decided to define that with a curve. This charts how the boiler's efficiency decreases with its health, which should reinforce the need for players to maintain their boilers with mechanic employees. So with most of the actual programming already done, the steam power system worked, with steam engines supplying power to production lines. The main thing missing was that boilers should really burn fuel in order to create steam. I decided the best way to do that would be to have them burn wood and make it possible to automatically feed the boiler from a storage building. So, first things first, I added a conveyor belt connection to the boiler. With conveyor belts connecting, next I needed to add a control panel so the player can see how their boiler is functioning, including the inventory display I made earlier in the video. I wanted to make it possible to drag items between inventories though, so you can still fuel a boiler without a conveyor belt. I created a new empty game object to hold inventory items being dragged before adding mouse events to register clicks and drags on the items themselves. On first attempt, I may have gotten things the wrong way around. After changing a plus to a minus and coding the drop behavior though, the items followed the mouse nicely and were transferred when dropped onto another inventory containing building. I'll probably add some more visual feedback just to make it more clear what buildings can be dropped to and whether dropping will be successful, but this works for now. After a little bit more work, I got boilers to accept fuel both via a conveyor belt and drag and drop, burning it to produce steam. When fuel runs out, steam is no longer produced and the power supply will fall. I also added a new alert component for control panels, which displays information in red when something is wrong with the machine. In the case of the boiler, different alerts include low power supply, lack of fuel, and demand being too high. The final addition for the steam power system was some art for the steam engine. After lots of looking around at various steam engines, including this cool one I spotted at a Victorian textile mill, I ended up settling on the coreless engine style, invented in the 1840s. I started by drawing a wireframe outline for the general shape and structure of the sprite. With the layout done, I could then move on to animating the wheel spokes. I went with a red paint colour for the spokes, which was pretty common on these machines, and spent quite a while trying to get the design right for the main engine cylinder box at the back of the machine. The initial result was okay, but there were a few things I wanted to fix, particularly the brightness of the red. Once that was all finished and set up in the game though, the result was this. The steam engine starts and stops spinning when it gains or loses power. The finishing touch was a particle effect for the steam itself, rising from the valve. And this was the finished result. The steam engine gradually spins up when it gains power, puffs steam from the valve, and spins down when it loses power. Speaking of Steam, you can also wish this Lumbermill now on Steam at the link in the description, which helps me out massively and means you'll be notified when the game comes out or goes on sale. Special thanks for this video, as always, go to my patrons. In particular, I'd like to thank HPR, BD Smith, Bratfana TV, Warner M14, Dominic, Mike James, Kleb, Pepper Trollman, Devon, Hayden, Ojo Marin, Dominic, and Lego Nerd. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like it and consider subscribing. That's all for now, thanks for watching.